You guys asked for it months ago for me to do some sort of follow-up video as to clear up the confusion on why I didn't include some books, and yes, by golly, I am happy to say that we are here right now doing it. What's up, everybody? My name is Dom of X, comicreleases.com associate editor, and back in February, I placed out a video called Everything You Need to Know about Dawn of X Omnibus Volume 1. And while I was proud of some of the explanations that I had done in the video, I did understand the discourse and also some of your guys' suggestions that, well, you didn't include the creator-owned books and also the creator-owned or written Omnis. And the reason to why I had that, I placed it out in a lengthy comment somewhere down in the video, is because those books were either out of print or had not come out yet. And the reason to why I said that in respect and regards to that as well is I don't want you guys to buy a book for $250 in the open market and then either not like it or completely kills your budget for the next thing. And with these Dawn of X omnibuses that are going to be coming out in a couple of days or a week, I don't know when this video is coming out, to a couple of months right after with Volume 2, I thought that it would be smart to inform you guys as much as I can on which route to go and where you should take your collecting / reading experience next. So before we get into all of that, go ahead and like the video and subscribe if you're brand new. Hit that notification bell so you can know every single time I upload. I do interviews with creators, I do video essays, and also keep up to date with comic releases, as that technically is my job, right? So let's go ahead and get into the video. I want to go over the oversized hardcovers first. There are two of these that I have not come out yet, and also a couple of speculative ones that I think a lot of people have had on the way, including myself. If it's an oversized, it's going to be on this list. Of course, we do have the House of X Powers of 10 hardcover that is getting a reprint soon, which kicks off this entire era of X-Men. We also have the X-Men by Jonathan Hickman Omnibus that appropriately collects his entire X-Men run, with the exception of the 10 of Swords chapters. We have the Marauders by Gerry Duggan, oversized hardcovers, volumes 1 and 2. Again, 2 hardcovers there. We have Excalibur by Teenie Howard, volumes 1 through 2 for oversized in terms of that aspect. We also have Hellions by Zeb Wells, which is another oversized hardcover that really just, in my mind, it feels like an omnibus. We also have the Cable by Gerry Duggan, oversized hardcover, deluxe hardcover, one of my favorite runs from the Dawn of X era. We also have X-Force by Benjamin Percy's, volumes 1 through 4, in oversized hardcover that does collect a Wolverine issue, as that is a technical two-parter in the first Hellfire Gala that they did back in 2021. Man, time flies. We also have the 10 of Swords hardcover, and the event is not collected in oversized hardcovers with the exception of Hellions issues 5 through 6, which are in that hardcover. We also have Wolverine by Benjamin Percy, volumes 1 through 3. This, again, collects everything up to issue 40, with the exception of the Ghost Rider crossover and also that Wolverine issue that I had mentioned earlier. We have the Hellfire Gala Red Carpet Deluxe hardcover, oversized hardcover, that collects the entirety of the Hellfire Gala event. The red issues, there were red issues in the back that were Sword issue number 6, X-Men issue 21, Marauders issue number 21, along with the Planet Size X-Men issue that was collected in a separate trade paperback by itself. So if you wanted to read the main storyline, you had the option of both there, but we do at least have the first entire Hellfire Gala in oversized format via that red carpet edition. Inferno by Jonathan Hickman also received an oversized hardcover not too long after its release, just in the same way that House of X also had an oversized hardcover immediately after release that went out of print, at least real quickly for me. It was sold out in my comic shop. We bought like 20 copies and it was gone in the matter of a week. We also have the 10 Lives X Deaths of Wolverine oversized hardcover that Inferno immediately leads into. I will not spoil story beats, but there is a character that goes into that storyline that is pretty important in my mind. We also have the Axe or Avengers X-Men Eternals Judgment Day event, which is spearheaded by Kieran Gillen, who was writing Immortal X-Men at the time, and also which gets led in by Eternals by him and Esad Ribic. Next, we do have the Sins of Sinister oversized hardcover Sins of Sinister. You got 3 separate writers, one of which will be getting an Omni, but again, oversized hardcover for that crossover event in the set part of a future. You have the Sabretooth War Omnibus, which really is just Sabretooth by Victor Laval on top of the last arc of Benjamin Percy's Wolverine, which is co-written anyways by Victor Laval, that same writer that I had mentioned earlier who is writing Sabretooth. We also have the Fall of the House of X Omnibus that most recently released that I have actually not had a chance to pick up yet. I thought about it and I went, well, and two omnibuses that haven't been released yet, at least per the guide. We do have the Al Ewing omnibus that I will be talking about later, and we also have the Gerry Duggan X-Men omnibus that is also coming out in December. So we do have a couple of options in the future that will be collecting certain runs of the X-Men. Now, a lot of people have also been asking, well, isn't there an Immortal X-Men omnibus, and isn't there a Nightcrawler Saga omnibus by Cy Spurrier? Well, there aren't either of those two. Perhaps if these two Al Ewing and Duggan omnibuses sell well, they might look into it, and I think that they would do one at least for Gillen, but as of now, we do not have those two omnibuses yet, so that is what we do have for the omnibuses and oversized hardcovers that have either come out or will come out soon. And I also want to talk about books that were part of the Jordan D. White executively edited X-Men line that were collected in other omnibuses or oversized hardcovers, but not in the omnibuses that were on your previous screen. We do have the Empire omnibus, which collects the 4-issue Empire X-Men miniseries that was written by literally the entire Dawn of X team. And it deals with, yes, exactly as you think it is, the X-Men and what they were doing in the midst of the Katati and their earth-shattering, no pun intended, implications. And then we also do have the Dark Web X-Men 3-issue series, which was written by Gerry Duggan and drawn by Phil Noto, that follows Spider-Man and Emma Frost, as, again, part of the Dark Web event. It's also in the trade paperback, but it was never collected in any other spot, at least beforehand. This will, again, all be in those two omnibuses. Now, if we move on to talk about the Uncollected in terms of the entirety of the X-Men line, I want to talk about all of the books that have not had a chance yet to get an oversized format, and I want to start out again with Dawn of X. The first of these books is the New Mutants 33-issue ongoing, and I also included the Lethal Legion miniseries in here as well. And it might just be because that this was an anthology series that had plenty of different writers, from Jonathan Hickman to Vita Ayala to Charlie Jane Anders to Ed Brisson. We had a whole bunch of different stories in here with a whole bunch of different hallmarks by different creators, and some of those I understand can be messy, so I understand why Marvel really never put one out to begin with, but I know that there were some people wondering why that wasn't included, at least issues numbers 1, 2, 5, and 7 in the Jonathan Hickman X-Men Omnibus, because there are characters that pop up in there, and there are story beats that are in there that directly lead into issues 8 and 9 of the main X-Men run. So again, it has never been collected before in omnibus format up until Dawn of X Omnibus Volume 1. In this list, we also have Fallen Angels issues 1 through 6, which has only been in trade paperback and has never been in omnibus form. A couple of those characters, of course, make their way into their own respective series, of course, with Gerry Duggan's Cable and Psylocke joining the Hellions, and issue number 7 of Hellions, from what at least I can remember, has some stuff that was set up by Brian Hill in that specific book, so continuity points there. We also have the incoming one-shot, which was in Volume 1 of the Jonathan Hickman trade paperbacks for X-Men, but was never in the omnibus despite it being listed in the contents, and I flipped through it again a couple of nights ago, and it wasn't there, so it is now going to be on the list, and I'll get to talk about that a little later. We also have the X Factor series by Leah Williams, never properly being collected in full oversized format anyways. We had 2 trade paperbacks of it. Issue number 4 is a Ten of Swords chapter, so that was properly included in the Ten of Swords hardcover, and then issue number 10 is part of the first Hellfire Gala. There's something big that happens in it, and unfortunately it also was the end of the series, a series that I personally enjoyed. So we do have all of those books being uncollected previously, again, in oversized. We also have to look to the Reign of X, which is all of the books, or the era, if you will, right after the Ten of Swords event. We had Children of the Atom, which was a 6-issue series by Vita Ayala and Bernard Chang that got pushed back due to COVID, which deals with some brand new characters dealing with the new status quo of the X-Men. We also had a Marvel Voices 2020 issue number 1, that was also in that trade paperback, and again, never properly collected in oversized form, and the omnibuses will be a shot to collect this series in full form. We have Way of X, and like I mentioned earlier, we do not have a Nightcrawler Saga Omnibus by Cy Spurrier, but this miniseries written by Spurrier with art drawn by Bob Quinn might make its way to a Reign of X Omni if we ever do get a shot to have it there. X Corp by Teenie Howard has also never been properly introduced in omnibus format as, again, 5-issue series, very much in the same way of Fallen Angels. There was no way that this would make an oversized hardcover in the oddish years near the pandemic. And then we have the X-Men Trial of Magneto miniseries, which, again, kind of spins out of X-Force. I'm not going to spoil anything there, but those series have never, again, properly been introduced in oversized format. We also have Destiny of X, and all of these issues that you see at the right hand of your screen have never been fully collected in oversized format. And if we ever again get to that point where Dawn of X Omnis sell well enough to get Destiny of X omnibuses, we will see these in pure form. Now, the biggest one that I would anticipate getting an omnibus here is Immortal X-Men issues 1 through 18, and I'm actually looking at the side, and Captain Marvel is going to be collected in the Highest, Furthest, Fastest, which is technically volume 2 of Kelly Thompson's Captain Marvel run, but I put it for posterity's sake here because, well, it has the Brood in it, and I remember the connecting covers, and I remember reading, like, oh, they're doing something with it here, or whatever you would like to call it. And I also included the Amazing Spider-Man book because, well, if you know, you know. And of course, we have Fall of X, which has never been collected in any oversized format because all of these issues were incredibly short. These runs were incredibly short, and their time lasting was also incredibly short as we had multiple waves in. And I remember talking to one of the creators of this, and unfortunately there was no shot that these were going to be extended any longer than their rights anyways. So we do have all of these Fall of X issues never collected and oversized, but they might get a chance to now. And I think, oddly enough, like looking at the list, the one that we actually might have a chance, if they ever do it, and I don't know if Marvel will or not, is Gerry Duggan's Uncanny Avengers getting in a Gerry Duggan Uncanny Avengers omnibus. Well, they haven't reprinted Rick Remender's yet, and I don't know what the chances are of getting Pepe Larraz and Ryan Stegman in oversized. I'm not talking about the one that Duggan did with Javier Garrón that is on the right side of your screen. I'm talking about the Gerry Duggan run that came a little bit after Rick Remender's time on the Uncanny Avengers. And then we do have the reading order for the Fall of the House of X and the Rise of the Powers of 10 omnibus. Again, this is not to be confused with Fall of X. This is the last part of the Krakoan line. This is the finish line, and the right side of your screen has all of the issues. And I would like to note, this does not include the Sabretooth War issues, which are issues 41 through 50 of Wolverine. So there you have it. Like, that is all of the omnibuses and everything that has been collected and has not been collected as far as this is concerned. That was edited by Jordan D. White. If there is a book that you do not see on here, let me know down in the comments section below. Let's go ahead and talk about the route that I would personally have you guys on. If you do not want to get the Dawn of X Omnis, if you just want to get the main story, this is what I would personally recommend. This was not in my last video, but I am making it in posterity's sake. And it also is here because we do have a long enough list now to actually talk about some of these books. The first of which is the House of X Powers of 10 hardcover. You should get this regardless, I think, of whether you are an X-Men fan or not. I find it to be incredibly breathtaking. The way that Hickman pulls both series together, you've heard all of the same things. I just want to say that this was my formal introduction to not only the X-Men, but also to Marvel Comics. I was a DC guy before I read this, and I will be forever grateful to my friend John at the comic shop for giving me a copy of House of X issue number 1 in my hands. It was a wraparound cover drawn by Mark Brooks, and here I am now. Next, I want to talk about an out-of-print omnibus that was not in the previous video, and this is the Jonathan Hickman X-Men Omnibus, which collects issues 1 through 12, 16 through 21, along with the giant-sized X-Men one-shots, so Storm, Jean Grey and Emma Frost, Phantom X, Magneto, and Nightcrawler, although the Nightcrawler really is a Cypher and Warlock story, but that's another story for another time. This is $75, but it is out of print. I Again, did not put in the last video because I do not want you guys spending over $200 on one of these books. God forbid anything like that happen, but I am putting it in here because, yes, I mean, this is the main series. Everything that you need in for the main floor and ground running for the X-Men. Again, these are all oversized. I want to make that note. I'm not going to be recommending trade paperbacks in here. This is, again, if you just want the specific oversized format, this is how I would collect it. 10 of Swords hardcover. This is the first big event of the X-Line, an X-Line where it had graciously expanded after the institutional days of, gosh, COVID. Man, again, weird times. Another one of these is out of print, so what I would recommend, do not kill your wallet, and if you do find one, go ahead and buy it, but I would bank my money on this getting not a reprint, but rather it being retreaded into an omnibus, just like we have seen for plenty of Marvel books, including Fatal Attractions, Fall of the Mutants, and literally anything else that you can think of that has been an X-Men event book. It has probably been, well, this will most likely be anyways, reprinted as an omnibus, but do not quote me on that. Next, I want to talk about the Hellfire Gala. The main series, or the main books that I talked about were earlier here. It's on the right hand of your screen. Again, another one of these hardcovers is out of print, but this really does set the stage for the important transition between Jonathan Hickman to Gerry Duggan on the main title. Jonathan Hickman at this time was realizing, well, man, this whole entire story has been a little bit bigger without me. And in an alternate universe, we probably would have had Jonathan Hickman on an X-Men book and a different X-Men book, just those two titles. Whatever else happens, happens. Kind of like the same way that we had Avengers, but alas, that did not happen. And Hickman said, well, somebody else is going to have to finish the story without me. In the context of Krakoa, Jonathan Hickman's last word is in the pages of Inferno, which was a 4-issue series drawn by Jerome Pena, Stefano Caselli, and also Valerio Schiti. We lead that into the 10 Lives X Deaths hardcover. And this hardcover specifically has the pages of the 2 5-issue series that flip-flop back and forth. This is Benjamin Percy taking the wheel right after the pages of Inferno with a character in it that, well, whatever happens to her will send ripples across the X-Men universe. And then after that, we have the Gerry Duggan Omnibus that is coming out on the 9th of December of this year. You are going to be looking at Gerry Duggan's specific team, a specific team that was elected in the pages of the first Hellfire Gala. By the first Hellfire Gala, I do mean, yes, Marauders, X-Men, and those issues, and what they're of, like I mentioned in that specific hardcover. You are really getting a completely different set of, well, characters in here. I mean, every single year we have a brand new Hellfire Gala, and you are going to be running off stories that not only deal with them, but you're also dealing with some plot threads that Hickman set up that Gerry Duggan does tackle later on in his run. I also want to note that this specific omnibus is also collecting the Planet-Size X-Men one-shot, so if you do not want that Hellfire Gala hardcover, well, at least you get to see a very, very cool and powerful moment for mutant kind happening in the pages of that one-shot, along with the Hellfire Gala one-shots that come right after the first Hellfire Gala stories. You also will be getting an X-Men by Al Ewing omnibus. And what is this specifically? Al Ewing was brought on to the X-Men board of creators, and I was very surprised when I heard that Al Ewing was going to be writing for the X-Office with a Sword book that I said, I hope that this could last at least 15 issues. It only lasted for 11 issues, but Sword really is where the cosmic the cosmic parts of the X-Men take a hold, and it is a story in finding out, well, who's the whodunit. There are bad guys afoot, and we got Orcus, and they are also dealing with the after effects of not only that, but Abigail Brand back in as Sword's commander, and Storm really takes her big leap not only in that, but also to the pages of X-Men Red. Planet-Size X-Men #1 had a really cool moment that leads into X-Men Red, and this is really where Ewing's run kicks into high gear. There are some bone-chilling moments in this book, and again, it takes that same cosmic route from Sword, but yes, X-Men Red, there is a red something out there that these characters are all on, and something happens to it. This collection also is going to have a certain part of the Sins of Sinister crossover, which, in my mind, very weird that they put that in there. But that being said, it's here, so Storm and the Brotherhood, which is again is the Sins of Sinister chapter, is going to be collected in here regardless, with the exclusion of Nightcrawlers and Immoral, not to be confused with Immortal X-Men. This also will have the Resurrection of Magneto, Fall of the House of X, Rise of the Powers of 10 tie-in storyline, or at that part of the Arrow. This is Al Ewing's goodbye to the X-Men. And not only that, this also has the Before the Fall one-shot that Ewing wrote, which is the Apocalypse one-shot, and then Cable Reloaded, which is a part not only of the specific Sword book, but was also a tie-in to Ewing's Guardians Last Annihilation event. So you are getting everything in here that is written by Al Ewing in this creator-centric omnibus. We also have the Axe Judgment Day omnibus, like I mentioned earlier. It is out of print, so again, good luck finding it. But this is also Kieran Gillen's first time spearheading an event and his first time in dealing with the Krakoan resurrection protocols are a thing. I won't spoil as to what those are. What's going to happen to them when we also find out that gods and everybody else, like, are the X-Men gods, and is that really going to be something set in stone? Is that going to be a reality? They do tackle all of those in there. Not only that, it does have all of the Judgment Day one-shots, the tie-ins, including Avengers number 60, where it's Hawkeye in a mailbox written by Mark Russell. And then we do have the Sins of Sinister hardcover, and by golly, I did not anticipate this being out of print so quickly, but I did not actually have a chance to buy it. I think particularly because Tom Mueller at this point had left the X-Men design office. It was Jay Bowen who had taken over, so all of the logos were no longer the cool X-Men font or the X display font that Mueller gave us. But that being said, we do have the Sins of Sinister hardcover, and it is unfortunately out of print. Right now, I would actually like to talk about the Dawn of X Omnibus, and not only its contents, but also in comparison to its trade paperback predecessor that I used to collect, and I decided, wait, do I actually really need these? So I sold them all away. All right, so we have volumes 1 and 2 here on your screen, and on your screen, on the left-hand side, you will see the full reading order. Not just necessarily the contents, but again, the full reading order of Volume 1. And then on the right side, we do have the contents for Volume 2. There are a couple of things that I would like to tackle for this specific omnibus. The first one is that, well, what stories are in here, what's collected, and what the heck am I looking at? This is the anthological way that you will be buying these books. These books are probably going to be costing us $150, $125 in the near future. Again, this is just speculation. At least for whenever they get to Reign of X. But Dawn of X, Volume 1, will be $150 for, again, those wondering. On the left-hand side, we do see that it has all of the first issues of the Dawn of X line, if you will. The X-Men, the Marauders, the Excalibur, the New Mutants, etc. X-Force. All of those books are going to be collected in here. The two stories that they did add that I mentioned earlier, we do have the incoming issue. And that incoming issue specifically just has the story with Jonathan Hickman and R.B. Silva, and art that directly ties with a book that is on the right that I will get to later on. And then a story by Jonathan Hickman and Dustin Weaver in the pages of Marvel Comics 1000, which is just a story about one of the Horsemen. We also have, if you see on the right and the left-hand side respectively, that the Wolverine stories here are split. There's a Wolverine 1A and then a Wolverine 1B. The Wolverine 1A story directly has to deal with Wolverine and some of the things that he's dealing at X-Force, specifically with a brand new character called the Pale Girl. The second one, at least in these, that is collected in Volume 2, so story 1B, is that Wolverine is dealing with the return of every character that he has been tied to since the 90s. Won't spoil who, but the 90s hopefully will give you a hint as to who that is. And he has to deal with him, and not only him, but also some vampires. And again, if you guys can see the covers on the screen, you probably will know who I am talking about. But that one thing that I am very, very excited, they are adding to Volume 2 that was not collected in the trade paperbacks that we will get to the second screen in just a minute, is that they are adding the X-Men Fantastic Four miniseries written by Chip Zdarsky and drawn by Terry Dodson. I just think having that in here with the context of everything, even though unfortunately it doesn't really lead anywhere due to the events that happened in Slott's Fantastic Four, I still really do find it cool that they are leaving everything in for us to piece the puzzles together and figure out. So again, pause if you need to. These are the contents to volumes 1 and 2. I also want to make a quick note of the differences between trade paperbacks volumes 1 through 8 and Omnibus volume 1 of the Dawn of X Omni. The biggest difference between these two is that on the left-hand side for the Omnibus reading order is the one ordained by Jordan D. White, and on the right-hand side, it is more or less what Jonathan Hickman explained, and I kind of went into the last video, is that Shonen Jump was a very big factor in the way that they put out these Dawn of X books, and because the X office was so interconnected and even got more interconnected as the years went along, they wanted to put out something like Shonen Jump featuring a story here and there by different creators. Some of it had have 4 issues, some of it would have 6 issues, some of it would have 5 issues, but you had a whole different list and line set in there. And again, these are the differences between these two. And as you can see, you do have on the left-hand side, New Mutants issues 3, 4, 5, 6 all being succeeded. While on the right-hand side, you're going to be getting a sampler of issues number 1, then issues number 2, issues number 3. So it's really nice that they devied it out with arcs that I think actually do manage to fit together. I love that X-Force for the Omnibus is going to be, or issue number 1 anyways, is going to be before X-Men number 4. And on the right-hand side, I actually do want to point something real quick out. You might see that X-Men number 4 was suddenly not at the front of the pack, and this was collected at the end of Volume 4 instead at the beginning. And the reason to why X-Men number 4 have been pushed back is because Gerry Allen, who is Lionel Francis Yu's a very long-time inker and also a long-time friend, very respected member of the Filipino community and artist, passed away in 2019 unexpectedly. And so therefore, the series not only got delayed, but Lionel Francis Yu unfortunately had to step back on the main and allow other film artists such as R.B. Silva, Matteo Buffagni, and Mahmoud Asrar, who eventually took over the mainline series artist type in the year 2020. And you saw all of that processing. Here on the left-hand side, we don't have an issue with that delay specifically, but on the right, unfortunately, because of the passing away, that was the case in which X-Men did get pushed back, and the series, at least when I read it in singles, definitely felt different. But again, the main difference between both of these, not only in the reading order, is that Incoming number 1 and Marvel Comics 1000 are going to be in the Omnibus, whereas the trade paperback anthology series did not have those specific issues. So kudos to Marvel on that front. And that being said, I want to talk about, well, which one should you buy and what's the comparison? Now, if we go look at what I recommended with the creator owned, at least of what's come out, and also the anthology, here on the screen, you will see the difference between both of these lists. This is a very, very quick and relative mapping that I have created specifically not only for the video, but also on how I would divvy everything up. Reign of X is very long. Destiny of X even longer. The more that these series got drawn out, the more 4-issue series started popping up. And we eventually get to a point where it just makes sense to split everything up. I don't know if Marvel would do 70, 80 issue omnibuses. For example, like a Fall of X omnibus would probably have to split in 2. The plus on the anthology side is that you do not need to worry about all of these different books having to read through in, like you go from X-Men, and then you have to stop after issue number 12, then jump into 10 of Swords, and then, oh my gosh, like Inferno's happening, or 10 Lives of Wolverine is happening. You have to read that concurrently. You can read everything on the left-hand side and not have to worry about going from one book to another, because this line, as many of you may know, all of these books are interconnected in one way or another. So again, this is, again, based on what I believe is the best way to read these. And again, there is no Gillen, there is no Cy Spurrier oversized hardcover omnibus. So I wanted to make this as seamless as possible so that you guys can pick it up. Now, that being said, the price, because some of these books are not a thing anymore, you cannot get them at your comic shop. Maybe you can get them at your comic shop, but in your regular book market and places like that, it is out of distribution. So I will leave that up to you in terms of, again, which way should you go for all of these. And that being said, too, we don't know what reprints are also going to be happening in the future, as the last half of 2026 has not been unearthed yet in terms of announcements and what Omar has given us.
If you haven't yet, check out our website, comicreleases.com, my and Webhead's love letter to comics, a hotspot where you can finally figure out what's coming out, when, from what place. Our unique upcoming website tracker in the Collected Editions tab makes sure that you're on top of every single Collected Edition coming out on the market, with release date updates to the minute, from the tiniest graphic novels to the giant Generator Deluxe hardcovers as large as an absolute. Our unique spreadsheet not only gives out the most accurate information out there, but our format also filters ensure that you can find your books as quickly as possible. The tracker also gives out links to domestic and international retailers so that you can purchase your comic books at the snap of a finger. We are also proud to host monthly solicitations as per given by the publishers that generously send us information to give to you all. From the Ultimate Universe to the creator-loved Oceans and Universes, we specialize in giving you the most readable format of solicitations without any of the annoying advertisements. If you also donate to our Patreon at just $2 a month, which is less than a coffee at Starbucks, you will receive access to a special watch list dedicated to individually tracking items that are on your wish list, past or present. Place in your tracking number and make sure that these books also not only come in safe, you can even put in special comments on these as well. On top of that, your name will also show up at the end of every single Dom of X video creates as a huge thank you. That is comicreleases.com. For more information, check this out down in the description. If you also want to contact me or Webhead, check the contact forms down in the description or email me down in the description.
But I hope that this long video was enough for you guys to make a decision on which way to go. I know that the whole entire Krakoan era is kind of confused, especially if you look at it from the outside. It kind of is confusing to the new reader. I read it through in single issues, and it's still the only time, and granted I haven't been reading in single issues relatively long as comparatively to some other people, but I read the entire Krakoan era in singles. I have all of them in 6 or 7 separate comic book boxes. They're all over the place, but I'm very happy with the entire era, and I wanted to put out a video not only just as a follow-up to the Everything You Need to Know About Dawn of X Volume 1, I wanted to make sure that you guys had the right knowledge and preparation and everything for how much money am I going to spend on this and how much time am I going to dedicate in terms of tracking down some of those out-of-print books and why, well, which one is better. But again, that is up to you guys. It is not up to me, and I hope that Marvel can reprint some of those books out in the future. But that is going to be it from me. Again, let me know down in the comment section below if this was the type of video that you want. I know that you guys asked me in the previous one, well, why on earth do you have I know in the last video that some people were asking, well, why did you do it in this specific way? Well, I hope that this follow-up was decent enough so that you guys could not only follow, but also understand, well, where I'm exactly going to come from. And I think that the future of X-Men and this specific thing looks bright. We already have a volume 2 on the way, which is cool, which means that there were enough orders for volume 1 to satisfy it, and I hope that Marvel continues not only doing those, but also doing the Gillen and Spurrier omnibuses that I had mentioned earlier. But that's going to be it from me. I am Dom of X. I know that I have been placed the DC label, but I also love the X-Men. Like, crazy to think about. That's going to be it from me. Please stay safe, guys, and have a Dom-tastic day wherever you are.